Hello. Got my kitty behind my office seat here. Hey, you. Hey, Miss Joy. This is my Joy. My little Joy. Anyway. Um, so yeah. Uh, so I've talked about that stuff, that weird stuff, the eyes wide shut shit is everywhere, especially if you live in the Western Empire. Don't be naive like that chick in the first season of Fallout, and she just, I saw a clip from the second season. She just does that. Um, don't be so naive like that. Maybe indeed you all are here to learn evil, and y'all just be really failing at that. And thank you for raping me with your children and bending them over in front of me and whatnot. Pretty much my whole life. I'm not going to demon out like that because I'm just not like that. So I'm more of a neutral character, but I'm leaning towards the light because everything they try to do the balance thing, but everything's leaning towards the evil. So hence why I am. You know. So yeah. I can be a little naughty. I did do that little, everyone's trying to make me a demon and shit when I'm like in my ruined 20s and whatnot. And I did have a fun time ripping off corporate America out of like 20 grand or whatever, like 15, 20 grand, something like that. With the other community policers. That was very fun. We should do that again sometime. Yeah. Yeah, I could be a little naughty like that. I don't mind leading the revolution or being one of the leaders. That also appeals to me. Being a little deep state bitch though, and having to just lie and be inauthentic, that doesn't sound like nice. So I switched the whole wanting to run for president thing because they just have hidden requirements that I can't meet. I can't. Okay, you could confuse me on some of your almost adults and everything, right? You could confuse me on that, right? I can't fuck your like young children. I can't eat them and other creatures. Like I ain't eating no mermaid, and I probably wouldn't even eat a lizard person for that matter. And I mean, I try not to eat so much meat nowadays, especially since everything is really fucking tainted, But I'm being really selective on what I eat now and put into my body, and make sure that there's no fucking hidden human in there as well, in the food that I eat. And I can't sell my soul, So there's these three things I just can't really do, So no matter how much magic is cast on me or people roofie possess me, I just ain't happening. I know you get a lot of others this way, but you don't get me on board with that shit. And I feel the best thing to do is to balance myself out, and as a reflector that I am, that will help the world balance itself out. It's like, okay, they do a lot of this weird sexual ritual shit, especially with their kids. People survive that shit. A lot of people aren't into it. A lot of people are into it, is the thing. And we seem to be a huge chunk of society. So I just kind of like, okay, let's address the other problems that we can address. More dire problems. It almost feels like Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck and everything, and everybody's like, but he has like a little splinter on his foot, everybody. Let's focus on that. Don't cover his, stop, the neck, don't apply pressure to the neck. Look, he got a splinter on his toe, everybody. Let's address that. It's like, no, address the severe issue first. And worry about the minor issues later. No pun intended. And, you know, anyway. Seriously, no pun intended, but I could see how people could take that. Anyways, so it's nice that I'm able to get this little bit of my book off my chest, because I just I'm tired of the psychic attacks is really a legit thing, and interdimensional beings or whatever you want to call them, that shit's real. Sounds crazy, but is totally legit. And yeah, I'll just opt for a slightly naughty life. Well, I would opt in for a slightly naughty life where I am neutral, but I lean a little light because that's just who and what I am. I'm this honest, truthful creature. I say things that people don't always like and everything. And I just, in one of my last videos, I'm just like, look, what does peace actually look like? And it's not like it's not like this war shit. Both sides are doing the war thing, and peace is victory for my side. Well, like maybe peace is like you letting the demons go be their demonic self over there, and then you guys go be your angelic self over there, and that's the best you could hope for. Skeletor and He-Man don't always need to be fighting. They could have their little areas, to themselves, and that seems like a good, piece right there. So yeah, things are a little out of control though, because they definitely encourage you all to breed like crazy and then harvest you all, and then they're like, now there's too many of you. Well, you guys could use some of that shit to, some of the shit out there to your advantage. They tried, sexually capturing me ever since I was a child, and a good defense for me is being asexual. And I didn't even realize how asexual I was until like 4 years ago. Some chick randomly mentioned it to me in Colorado Springs when I still lived there. They're like, maybe you're asexual, and they plant these little ideas in my head, and it's like, and it's like everyone else could see it but me until I see it, and it's like, oh, right, maybe I am asexual. And that has been a great advantage for me, even though I'm not entirely celibate. But, let me tell you, I'm not having like entities like, attach themselves to me because I'm like using dildos or whatever the fuck. I'm using like some vegetable or like some dildo or something. Ain't no fucking entity coming through that. But if I was with a person, then entities could attach themselves to me from that person. So people may not agree with the way that I am and the way that I do things, but it's really gotten me very, 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 very far. And it's just because it worked for me. Like people are like, you look the porn and everything, Chris, you got to stop. You got to stop masturbating. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, I do have this damaged body, I guess, where I don't have access to that little machine underneath the Vatican that people like me could activate and totally heal myself. So I'm going to have to just be with this damaged body, slightly damaged, I guess, where, people shove things in my ass since I'm a child. And then they teach me homophobia and the same fucking people that are raping me in the ass, right? Because psychological warfare, it is a level of psychological warfare that y'all just got to understand. And that's what, part of my book is about. It's a big part of it, though, because they use sex so much. Just like that annoying Zionist Jewish kid on fucking Stranger Things. He was like, oh, like, Zionism is sexy. Obviously, after they sent him a demonic female to do something freaky with her body and his little pee-pee. Is that the standard now? Someone just touches your pee-pee, and I mean, they do that a whole lot. And they hook people up, like Charlie Kirk with these honeypots and all these things and whatnot. And yeah, and they kind of control people sexually is their number one fucking thing. That's why it's so frustrating when I'm like, yeah, well, I might attend one of your more proper orgies, and I'll just show up and touch myself, and then I'll eventually leave. How's that? And they're like, some of them. Some of them are, and some of them are like, oh, we would appreciate your energy there because we aren't as bad as there's a lot of variables and angles here. All right, so and I don't know everyone's circumstances. Maybe somebody had their whole family threatened to be sex trafficked. You gotta fucking suck dicks, and eventually you'll learn to make it, to enjoy it, because that's how trauma works. And otherwise, we're going to fuck your whole family up. And they do that a lot. I think they did that with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they could have done that with Bernie Sanders and a lot of other politicians that they don't really have blackmail on, but they gotta fucking get them in line and everything. And that's especially why I don't want to have children, to fucking put that gun to my child's head. And I would like to think that no matter what threats came, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. But I'm not actually in the situation. And so yeah, yeah, yeah. So just keep these things in mind and everything. You don't know everybody's circumstances, and people get caught up in these things, and and maybe you should just like legalize. I know, like, the dark side doesn't want it legalized. They're like, no, we have all the control. So that's why I'm like, yeah, the light side should fucking work on legalizing sex work, because then you take that extortion and blackmail and power away from the other side that is definitely using it to on all your leaders. So it seems counterintuitive, but really it makes the most amount of sense. And people could take it or leave it. Like, that's just the way it is with the situation that you're all in now. That's just the way that it is. Like Notorious B.I.G. said, that's just the way it is. Things will never be the same. If you guys make some changes, things will never be the same, and that would be a good thing. Wouldn't that be a good thing? That was the "Sky's the Limit" song by Notorious B.I.G. Yeah, yeah. Sky's the limit, but you guys got to readjust your naive views from that chick in Fallout. I forget her name. The little TV show that they have, which is kind of funny. Um, they definitely have that Fallout humor in there, but she is totally naive, and you guys are kind of like that. The light side is really like that, and you just gotta like move on. This one issue, not get hung up, and address the more severe issues like the bleeding in the neck, and not the splinter on the foot. All right. So maybe throw in another injury. Oh, there's a broken arm. Okay, well, still, you got to address this one first before you address the other broken arm and the splinter and everything. But everybody wants to address the fucking splitter on the foot or the broken arm instead of the gushing neck wound first. So you got to reprioritize your priorities and shit. And yes, it's okay to protect your family. Duh. Don't go around telling, especially evil families, what they could do with their children, the demonic families. I guess they get, raised by demons, and a lot of them are okay with it. Sometimes a demonic family has an angelic child, and sometimes an angelic family has a demonic child, and that just happens for the lessons that need to be learned. And you guys aren't really learning. You're just like learning to just be, subservient to it. And then we got to do this shit over and over and over again. And don't worry, we got enough time. We got an infinite amount of time to fucking figure this shit out. So I have no doubts in my mind that eventually you are going to figure this out. But it's gonna, there's going to be a rough road with ups and downs until then. I really hope that you guys could get it, on a proper path soon. And I think by balancing myself out and not being so bothered by shit, everybody wants me to hate everybody and hate on everything. Hate those people there. Hate those people there. Hate them over there. Hate them over there. And it's just, I'm just not into that either. So, people are people, and I'm just kind of doing my neutral thing as best I can. Although I lean light, and you could say I'm naughty, in comparison to your laws or standards or whatever. But holy shit, me ripping off that corporation, with my crew of community policers, having them do horrible crimes to me and everything, I do not feel bad whatsoever about it. Actually, we need some more of that Robin Hood shit. We need some more of that Robin Hood shit. People got to go like real gangster and fucking, don't harm the driver, but if someone, grabs some shipments and then just handed shit out for free, all anonymously, and kept our identities secret and everything, that would be badass Robin Hood energy that we sort of need around here, and then others, if you don't feel like that, well, I mean, there needs to come a time where all these internet cables are severed. That will, definitely stop the demise, just sever them all, just fuck it all up. Fuck all the cables up. Even if you got to make your own little depth charges to hit the bottom of the ocean floor and fucking, hit the cables down there. Just fucking fuck it all up. We'll be all right without the internet. You do know, yeah. It may take a little bit longer to figure out an answer and everything, and that's okay. But yeah, that would definitely, fucking hurt the eye of Sauron, which definitely needs to occur. So yeah, take a shit on some of their shit, or all of it. I just want to take a shit on the chest of the New World Order. Why can't I do that? Well, I think we can do it, and I think I can do it, and I think we can do it, and we will. But y'all need to just readjust a little bit. It may take you a long time, like I have. Yeah, kitty. Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. All right. So yeah, I think I said enough. I am glad that I'm done talking about this. Nobody wants to debate me or openly talk about it. So whatever. I just talk to myself, I guess. But it was a little part of the book, but it was important. It was an important part of the book. So yeah, I should get to making my book. I mean, it's been like a year and a half. Um, I think I have reached a point where I know enough now. Even though I still see things as the Schrodinger's box, where the cat is dead and the cat is alive. I have a lot of situations like that since I balanced out, like where I'm like, man, this could be like really, really fucking evil, or this could be really, really fucking nice. I can't tell, you know. So yeah, it's nice to have figured out enough where I'm not rewriting all this shit in the book. Like, oh my god, I would have never touched it again probably if I got like a third or halfway through my book or almost done, and then I'm relearning and readjusting and realigning all my perspectives and shit, and it's like, oh damn. So it's nice that I'm still 20 pages into it, so I don't need to fucking like edit that much. But I do need to get on it. I do appreciate the Freemasons for giving me these opportunities and taking care of me. It does seem a little prison like. It can be a protection, it can be a punishment. I know, right? It's like, the cat's dead, the cat's alive. It's very quantum. It's very quantum around here, let me tell you. So yeah, yeah. I do appreciate the trip and drugs that Colorado, is not anal about. I do appreciate that. And I'm not entirely against the LGBTQ community. I recognize it as being demonically influenced. I'm not into the weaponizing of it, though. I'm not into the weaponizing of that shit. So oh, you're not for us. What the fuck ever. Go. Have some penises out there, suck some penises. Have some vaginas out there, lick some vaginas. What the fuck ever. You got a bunch of psychopaths that want to like murder most of you off worse than Thanos. and they encouraged everybody to breed like crazy, and now you have a bunch of people penises. Wait, I can't. I don't here penises and penises and the I can't do the hand gestures because I'm holding the phone here. And the scissors. All right, and the penises, all right, touching each other, and the scissors scissoring each other, whatever. That's like the little you got a splinter on the foot, issue. All right, and you could use some people that aren't breeding right now because there's some people, at the tippy top of this little chain here that are like, oh, we got to murder y'all off because y'all breeding, too much. And we got these AI robots that we want to fucking take over anyway. And there's too many of you. You got the herd's got to be thinned out, but they can't say any of that shit. So they, because then you'll like revolt the same second, right? So their actions are pretty telling of their intentions. And they always play this. Oh no, no, I mean, that's why it's hard for me to tell who's on the good side of things, right? I'm like, man, are they really a good person, or are they just acting a good person? Like, fuck. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy David Icke. I enjoy David Icke and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. I'm not always watching their shows. Ian Carroll seems to be, culty too, and I, got, I'm like, maybe this is like some CIA asset. When I first got exposed to him, he seemed to be lifted up by the Freemasons. I see it now. Um, and the light side of Freemasonry, that everyone always talks about the dark side, the dark satanic side, but that's not all of them. That's like the one side, of the coin, and the other side of the coin is the people that actually do the Jesus thing and believe in Jesus and don't hate God. But I mean, the whole Satan and God thing, that's just two sides of the same coin. So, even we hate God, da 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 da, they seem to be, dropping the ball. And we hate Satan, they seem to be dropping the ball too. And it's like, I could encompass both of these fucking beings, the Christ and the Satan side, and not turn out a totally trashy human, So, there. But I'm never was really that dark. People trying to get like some really horrible shit out of me, trying to make me a rapist or something, trying to make me a mass shooter, just all sorts of shit, and it just never really worked because I'm just not that dark. That's even with the Satan in me, because Satan is just hell's manager, and yeah, there's a lot of douchebag managers out there. There's also some like really good ones out there too that do watch out for their employees and do the best they can for their employees, and that's and yeah, so I'm not like in on it with the demons. I think I do work with some demons from time to time, but not all the demons are terribly bad. Some of the angels are fucking very vicious too. Or maybe that's a demon with an angel mask. I can't, it's hard to tell sometimes, right? But I'll trust Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and David Icke, and I enjoy their insights, and I hope they're well protected by my crew of miscreants. Um, look out for those folks. Uh, and yeah, maybe one of them could hook me up with some land and I could build like a house on or some shit. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing no Aleister Crowley demon summoning. There's enough demons in this fucking place. Thanks. I'm not. Could I summon an angelic horde, please? I like the angelic horde might need to take care of those underground bunkers while the earth gets reset again with a major flood. That sounds like what's going to happen. Unless there's some other creative ways I don't really know about. But yeah, maybe we could even prevent a reset by everyone getting their shit together as soon as humanly possible. And then maybe we could even, prevent a reset, because I still have hope in the back of my mind and my subconscious here that we could, stop a reset from occurring. But we need you guys to fight back and fight back properly. against the evil that's clearly occurring, but they're just like, no, we're not evil. Me, Hillary Clinton, me, Bill Gates, we're not evil. We're trying to help people. It's like, I don't know. And it seems way, 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 way tilted towards the evil side. Even with the nice stuff that China and Russia might be doing. It still seems too evil. You destroyed too much. You poisoned the whole planet. You poison all the creatures in it. It's a little tilted towards the evil, and just slightly, a little bit, a lot, a lot. So yeah, I can't participate in making this worse, And they say this is like the devil's playground, and they're like, maybe that's true, but playground implies that there's like a few playgrounds around town to play in, not the whole town, right? So there's those 12 vile vortices in this plane of existence. Maybe that's where the playgrounds are supposed to be, but everyone's like, no, let's expand the playground, and it's like, it definitely throws the balance off of things, doesn't it? And then when you get like a little, I do have my Christ side, but I got my lower Satan side, and you get this little Satan like me, and then I'm like, no, it's too not balanced. Is the problem, you know? Maybe you could get a darker version of me if things were much nicer here, but that's just not what I am now. I am what you need me to be now, not what you want me to be. A point I made in a recent twitters of mine. So yeah, you're nice. The orgies sound nice and everything. I just, I always thought of the more proper one. Where like, I have some porns of it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need no like 7 or 8 year old at a fucking orgy. What the hell? What the hell? I feel so awkward and shit. But I know there are demons that are 7 and 8 year old that like look forward to like raping the adult. That does occur. So yeah, I guess you got to do that elsewhere, and I'm going to attend hopefully a proper orgy one day. My version of a proper orgy. And if it needs to be a blood orgy, may I just request some of those really really naughty ones at the top be the sacrifice. All right, that's all. That's all. Can I get a little bit of that, a little bit of this? You know, it all hasn't been so insulting. I mean, they did send me a 21-year-old next door and everything, so that is nice. That is much better than your 8 year olds that you sent me. And the 21-year-old is at least fuckable. So, but she does. She doesn't have the best diet, and that isn't necessarily her fault. She's almost just like that naive chick in Fallout. So I hope she could improve her diet because I just don't feel, I feel like she's been sent here to maybe make a child of God with me, but then I'm like, your diet isn't the best, and I don't know if I trust that. And I know it's really exciting and everything. People try and get a child of God, but like, you really got to have a really good diet. I mean, it doesn't need to be the best, but it can't be what you're doing right now. No more normal cereal, no more pork. You're going to have to live like a kosher halal diet, and a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits. And meats could be rare, that's fine, or non existent. They're starting to poison the shit out of the meats and everything. Although I am, stuck on some beef fat for now. I haven't made tallow with it yet, but I definitely use it in my beans. And I cooked it in a stew as well, and it just it's good for my brain. My brain has been under attack for like 4 decades, so I just it's nice that I could properly give it proper nutrition, and that's good. I definitely share it with a lady of mine. So I know I don't have the best diet, but it is a hell of a lot better than next door. Um, and just yeah, in my quick evaluation, I hung out with her the other day and smoked some some of the devil's lettuce, and yeah, it was. I won't eat cereal anymore, because there's just too much poison bullshit in there. Is what I feel. Is what I feel. You could feel a different way. But anyway, um, I think that's about it. Thank you everyone for trying to make me a monster, or me failing or succeeding, or yeah, I'll get blurred. But yeah, I hope you guys could just readjust a little bit, and priorities too. The gushing neck wound, and splinters on toes and broken arms come after the gushing neck wound. Right, right. So yeah, it seems to, yeah, like what I said in one last videos. It's like if you know a few people, they could be acting like, oh, child protection, child protection. Oh, we're totally on the light side. We're totally on the light side. But in reality, they're partaking in all that stuff, and you'll know a few people that are partaking in the stuff that they talk against. It's like a game for them, and they're really they're really skilled at the manipulation, and they get off on it. Like I can't help but be honest and authentic and tell the truth, and they can't help but be deceitful and lie, 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 lie. Be inauthentic. Be fake. It's just their nature. So you need to understand that, and there are a whole bunch of them. I heard numbers. There's like, what, 7 out of 10 people are like narcissists, which is what you would call the demon. And I don't think they're all bad. There's different levels of demons. There's the demons that go out in the woods and they just circle the tents, maybe brush up against it and scare the shit out of somebody and leave. Then there are the demons that show up, in that same situation with a knife and murder everybody inside. And so there's, different levels, and like I said, better management of both sides could get you just better results, because just this endless war stuff is not going to work out on either side. So anyway, um, I think you guys could achieve a peace here. Definitely, Israel is going to have to get out of Palestine, but don't worry. There's a place for them in the Rothschild Island, right? Right, and that's my vote. Or I mean, you should give them a state or something, or like the tip of Argentina or something. There's some place for them to go that is more acceptable for the whole world stability. But up in the Middle East, right there, that is very destabilizing. Not good for Muslims. Not good for Christians. It's only good for the juice. It's only good for them. So yeah, maybe change that. And maybe what, the tip of New Zealand or something, the tip of Greenland, somewhere they'll have all their little tech bro psychopath nonsense to like make the beaches warm. So don't worry about no cold beaches. They'll have their weird fucking tech to like make it all fucked up but warm there, and we should give them that, so there could be stability in this place. Otherwise they're going to rot you all from the inside out, like they have been, like they do famously. So maybe we just make a land sale for them, and not in Palestine but somewhere else, somewhere more palatable for them, someplace they enjoy frequenting. Like Argentina, they enjoy frequenting there, right? I'm sure they procure a lot of children sex workers from Argentina, right? So maybe you make a little spot over there for them, or they do that in America too. So maybe you make a little spot for them in America. And they definitely use Disney World for that. So maybe we give them Disney World too, in that deal of Florida, which I've suggested. But that's only if it's not okay with the space aliens on Rothschild Island. If the space aliens could accept this Rothschild Island thing, then great. Problem solved right there. Good. It's like them returning home anyway, right? Right? It's like perfect, All right. Well, all right. You folks take care. Bye bye.